Episode 4 of Detroit Lions Hard Knocks just dropped. Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. My name is Derek, and welcome to Detroit Lions Syndicate. If this is your first time here, we talk all things about the Detroit Lions, and we make videos almost every day without the Y for yes or N for no. So if that's your type of thing, then subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want these videos to appear in your notification feed, then ring the notification bell. Episode 4 of Hard Knocks aired today, and it was quite an emotional journey. I'm an emotional guy. Everybody who watches me should know that by now. I've shed a few tears on this platform, more than I would like to say. But today's episode was super emotional. Now, just to put this out there, they did not show cuts. They usually show cuts the last episode of Hard Knocks. I actually stumbled across a previous Hard Knocks season, and cut day usually is the last episode. Now, you guys know who will be cut, but I think we're going to have some surprises as well, because the practice squad will be filled by then, and they're going to incorporate that also into the last episode of the season. So without further ado, let's recap episode 4 of HBO Hard Knocks. So as usual, I have my phone here. The first thing it starts off is after the Colts game, and they kind of show Dan Campbell in the locker room. It picks up immediately after the Colts game. And then they flash to Brad Holmes, and Brad Holmes talks about how cut day is like the worst day because these guys work so hard and they would love to keep them on the roster. But the worst day probably of like the NFL preseason is cut day. And then Dan Campbell tells the coaches to not hold back when it comes to giving their opinion about players. And I wish we could have seen the players that they were talking about, but they had the names blurred out on the board and they never said who they were talking about. So there's some mystery in there. But I think that as the show goes on, you can kind of piece together some people. But they told them, Dan Campbell told the coaches to not hold back. Then they flash to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes in Dan's office, and they're going over, because ultimately the final decision is up to them, and they're going over the board of people that are probably going to get cut. And you could tell that this is an intense moment. And now I understand why Dan Campbell looks like he lost 2 or 3 years, and why Brad Holmes has those massive bags under his eyes, because this has to be a tough job, because at the end of the day, these guys are still human, and these have to be a tough thing to do, to tell somebody that they're not going to be here anymore. And then what they do is Dan Campbell tells the Lions players that that they were better, that they got better, and that they got nothing but recommendation from the hotel. That the hotel staff said that they were classy and they did not act like they were better than anybody. And that was so great, because that's who we are as a city. That's Detroit. Hard workers, blue collars. We don't think we're better than anybody. And that's one of the things that why this team means so much to us, because it embodies, I think, not only the city, but the people who live in the city, which is why it bothers me. One of the reasons I wanted to talk Detroit Lions, it bothers me when people who are not Detroit Lions fans talk about the Detroit Lions. They don't know anything about this city. They don't know about the people in the city. They know about what they hear, but they don't know what the truth is. So that's one of the things that I love about the Detroit Lions and being a Detroit Lions fan. Then they showed the player run practice. It was hilarious to see no coaches involved. Dan Campbell was the only coach involved, and all he did was blow the whistle. He did not speak to the players. He let them run their own practice, and it was hilarious. Now, my thing, this is probably, I had a lot of favorite episodes, a lot of favorite parts in this episode. And one of the things that I really enjoyed in the middle of the episode, 20 minutes in, was how Jared Goff they said he's hot. And he was making it hard for the defense. After getting traded away, watching your former team win the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford, the guy you got traded for, win a Super Bowl, I know that weighs heavy on Jared Goff. And I know a lot of you guys do not believe in Jared Goff. We rather root for Matthew Stafford, who no longer plays here, than back up the guy who is now leading our team. And I have a lot of faith in this man. I'm not a Goff truther. I don't know where even that came from. I'm not that guy. I just know what this team was, why Matthew Stafford left. Matthew Stafford wanted nothing to do with this team, the way in the condition it was. He left, right? So I was going to say ran away, but he ran away in a sense. He wanted to get as far away from the Detroit Lions as possible. Now, no matter what you feel about Matthew Stafford, if you bought a Detroit Rams shirt, the truth is he wanted nothing to do with this organization after 12 years. Now, that's between you and him or whatever. He made his decision. He's no longer my quarterback. But when it comes to Jared Goff, they said that Jared Goff was on fire. And Jared Goff said to Dan Campbell that you give me confidence. And they brought up one of the things about some of these YouTubers like myself. We're not always right, but we dive a lot into this team. We wake up, we talk about the team. We go to bed, we wake up again, we're thinking about this team, how we can convey this stuff to you. And I have been saying forever that Jared Goff didn't have the confidence. Again, I'll bring up Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford left this team because there was nothing here. It was like an egg without the substance. There was nothing here. And we got Jared Goff. And now, starting with Josh Reynolds and beyond, Jared Goff has more confidence, so expect much more from him this year. Then they said they showed Jared Goff working with the kids and his clothing brand, and I really appreciated that. It was a funny kid talking about he wanted to be the best man in his wedding, and they did show a glimpse of Jared Goff's fiance. Then they flashed to Aaron Glenn being upset because the defense got worked by the offense, and he just said we can't have that. And that's what we've been hearing about in practice, how the offense was working the defense, and JG was not having that. I can see right now that the defense, if it would have been a problem, but Aaron Glenn did more with less last year. We didn't have Hutch. We didn't have Rodriguez. Tracy Walker didn't know if he was coming back. And the defense, it shows flashes of good, but it's like it could go either way. It could be a problem, but I think if any man can get this defense together, it's going to be Aaron Glenn. Then they showed Craig's dad. It was nice to see him. Dan Campbell said he knew that this guy was related to Craig Reynolds just by seeing him, but he didn't know who he was. And then another one of my favorite parts was Craig Reynolds' journey. This episode was pretty much about the underdog. It was about Khalil Pimpleton and Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds said that he had no Division I offers, and basically he had been on 4 teams, I think, up into the Detroit Lions, and his journey getting to the NFL was fantastic. And although he was on the roster, on the practice squad, and eventually on the roster last year for a couple games, his spot was not secure this year. And he came out and really balled. We'll get to that a little bit later. But the thing about Craig, and this is why Craig is on this team, Dan Campbell asked the coaching staff, what do they feel about Craig Reynolds? And Deuce Staley said that Craig Reynolds is everything we represent. That was fantastic because us as content creators and Lions fans, we were saying that stuff last year. We saw this man and everything, and they said he's everything they represent. And he said that if we cut him, that a couple linemen might actually want to talk to Dan Campbell and have some words for him because they really like Craig Reynolds, his blocking, his protection, and things like that. So Craig, that's the moment I knew, although we know he made the team, then we knew he was going to make the team. Like, that was the moment probably that solidified his spot on the team. So then they showed the Jamar Jefferson. We heard about this when the equipment snapped back at him and popped him in the stomach. It looked like it hurt. So then they had a segment where the offense was against the defense, and that goes to Hutch, man. Hutch is going to be a star. I can't believe that there are some people out there that did not want this man. Kayvon Thibodeau, Kyle Hamilton, Malik Willis, and I have been saying, you guys don't know, but I have been asking for a pass rusher the entire time I've been on YouTube, and we missed out on so many. And this was the guy. I think I was one of the only people saying when you would watch certain shows that I would be on that I wanted Aiden Hutchinson. Certain people wanted Kayvon Thibodeau, and I wanted this man. Hutch is going to be an absolute nightmare. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins Rookie of the Year. Now, my opinion, if he can put on some pounds of muscle, he could be very similar to Nick Bosa. But, we'll see how that works out. Then this is when it started getting gloomy. Like, the episode started getting gloomy. And first of all, I got to say, kudos to HBO. HBO is home box office, and they know exactly what they're doing. They can put a show together, from the music to the way they edit to everything about it, man, is cinematic, and I love it. But Hank Fraley said to the offensive lineman that some of you guys will not be doing, this is not your living. This is not what you're going to be doing for a living. And I felt like he was specifically talking to Easy, Paulo, those guys. A lot of the focus was on Easy. He said to not directly to Easy, but this is not going to be your living. And it was tough to see. So then they cut to where before the Pittsburgh game, And Dan Campbell has a speech, and he said, it's tough when you do everything right, you do everything we ask you to do, but this is the hardest part of my job, having to cut people and leading up. So if you have anything left, then put it all out there, because this, meaning Pittsburgh, is your last chance. Then they cut to Malcolm's family. It was a funny little moment between him, his mom, and his brother, his dad and his brother. Then they cut to Eminem as they were walking in the stadium, Eminem and the song Higher. I was like, that's M. That's M. So shout out to M, because M don't like his music anywhere, but he has to give authority or approval for his music to be played anywhere. If you play it on YouTube, they will take it off. But Eminem is a Detroit guy, man. He still lives around the city. So it's no surprise he would be a part of that. So now we go to the field. Now we're starting the Pittsburgh game. And again, we're back to Aiden Hutchinson. Hutchinson trying to hype up the defense. Dan Campbell's telling them to get these guys going. And you can see that Hutch is going to be that leader, especially as he starts to mature in the league. And I feel like he's only going to get better. Then they show Malcolm Rodriguez and how good he was and making plays. Then they cut to David Blau, this was a chance between him and Tim Boyle, and how one of them was going to have to step up to potentially claim the number 2 backup position. Funniest part of the episode, and maybe this worked in Craig's favor, but Craig put Icy Hot on his manscaped area by mistake, and it was classic, hilarious. He said it was painful, but that might have been why he was running the way that he was, and he talked about how tired he was. Then it really started, like you could hear the episode, the music started to change, and the cinematic, the slow motion, and this is when it really, really, really got sad. They're showing Khalil Pimpleton, and we all know that he's an undrafted rookie free agent trying to make this team. And he's like, come on, y'all. This is 4th and goal. The Lions are in the red zone. And HBO did a good job of like zooming in on the person that was probably we knew to make the mistake. And Khalil Pimpleton, 4th and goal, had a chance, hit him in the hands, dropped it. We all know what happened. And what I love about the Lions is all his teammates tried to give him, some encouragement, and was like, it's okay. He was like, it's not okay. You know what I mean? And he got to the sideline, but everybody came over. Khalif Raymond came over, talked to him, and David Blau said, listen, we're going to get it back. Don't lift your head up and let's go. Let's make this thing happen. So that was good. They showed, I think it was David Blau, and or the coach said, we have to find a way to make something happen. And then David Blau, I got to say this, when you're watching the game and you're emotional and you're not, you're in the moment, couldn't see maybe the effort that Dave Blau put up. And we've been very hard on these backup quarterbacks. I've always been fond of David Blau more than probably any other backup quarterback that we've had. The Jeff Driscoll, Josh Johnson, whoever we've had that even was going to make the team or we brought in to make the team. I've always thought that we should give David Blau a chance. And there was a moment where he got sacked because Easy, we're going to talk about him in a minute, we know he got cut, but he was terrible. And there was one moment where it was like 3 consecutive plays after they kicked the onside kick and got it back that David Blau was getting crunched like a sandwich. And I think that we have to respect his toughness. And I think that David Blau, looking back at it, being outside the moment, taking this opportunity, it wasn't the best performance. But if you look back, his offensive line was not that good. We were talking about Kendall Lamb, Easy, guys that were just getting work. There was a moment where Easy tried to help him up. I think he knew it was him, and he just hopped up and then walked away. And you could hear him yelling, come on, man. So these guys, we don't realize that your offensive line is crucial. It can be the difference between a season-ending injury and a touchdown. So it was tough. And then as they're exiting the field, Khalil Pimpleton says how whatever happens, he's grateful. And I feel like he has that type of personality, but at the same time, he's trying to be positive and not be down in the dumps because he was like, yo, I'm in the NFL. Like, this really wasn't supposed to happen. So, but we know he wants to make the team. And then Dan Campbell tells that he respects these gentlemen. And here's what I love about our coach. Our coach is a human. Our coach is a man. He's not a robot like Bill Belichick. You remember Rocky IV. Y'all know I love me some Rocky IV. And you remember Rocky IV when everybody thinks the Russian is a robot. In the second round, Rocky's in the corner, punch. He punches out of the corner and cuts the Russian. When you say, you see, he's not a machine. He's a man. You heard him, right? And Dan Campbell is a man. These guys are men. They're human beings. And Dan Campbell, you can see it on the bus, and I saw some tears in his eyes, man, that the decisions that he needs to make, even though you have to do it. You can't not do it, but it's tough. And it just brought me back that at the end of the day, these guys are human beings. And I love the human side of our coach because we don't see that a lot. We don't see that when it comes to the NFL. So that is the rep. Then they cut to black. And as they're talking about, no matter what happens, it was very cinematic, man. So shout out to HBO for doing what they do best, put some cinematic things together. So that's my recap of episode 4 of Hard Knocks. Now, we know who's going to be cut, but we see some of the cuts next week. And I think we'll also see the practice squad being filled, which should be filled tomorrow, I believe. So it'll be like some sad but some happy in there as well. And I'll tell you what. I think David Blau I think he earned the backup job. He was getting creamed like a sandwich, man. And I think he earned the backup job. And I think with the ones, we saw what he was doing. So I think he'll play better. And I'm really, really, really rooting for Khalil Pimpleton to make the practice squad because the guy dropped a pass, was very upset at himself, but he came back and made some pretty good catches. So he's got some speed. He's got some potential. So I'm going to be rooting. And hopefully by tomorrow this time, Khalil Pimpleton is on our practice squad. That would be great. And I would love to see the end of that, that happy ending next week. But it's not all about happy. This is a thing that has to be done. So let me know what you thought about HBO Hard Knocks in the comments below. My name is Derek. This is Detroit Lions Syndicate. We are at the cusp of 5,000 subscribers. We need about 40 or so. I'm hoping to wake up and have 5K. So if this is not your first time checking out the channel, consider subscribing because that would be awesome. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself. And as always, go Lions.